Today is Friday, November 14th, 2016. My name is Sarah Schneider, and I'm conducting an oral history interview with Patrick Herman of the Orlando Gay Chorus. The interview is being conducted at the interviewee's residence in Orlando, Florida. Thank you for being here and talking with us today.
You're welcome.
Can you please state your name for us?
My name is Patrick Herman, and like you said, I sing with the Orlando Gay Chorus. I've been doing it for 6 years, and it's just a really great experience. It's probably one of the, I look forward to it every week, just rehearsals and the shows. So, it's really all about singing. I think mostly it's really why I joined. I think that's why most people join. So.
And so can you tell us where you were born and how long you've lived in Orlando?
Oh, wow. I go way back. This year I'll be 60. So I was born actually in in Washington, D.C. I was one of 6 children. I have 6 siblings, but I was the third of the 6, and we lived in in Washington, D.C. My dad was in the Army, and so it was one of the many places we lived at. Because he was in the service, we traveled a lot. So before I graduated from college, I had traveled to numerous places and lived in many states. So how I ended up in Orlando was that I did have family in Florida, and when I graduated from Penn State, I decided I would move to where I had family in Florida, which was near Tampa, Newport Richey. And then it wasn't. Then I actually, when I was there, I actually got a job and went back to school, and then got another degree, and ended up in Fort Lauderdale, and lived there for about 20 some years, and then needed a change. So Orlando was, it had a job offer, and I took it. So that was 12 years ago.
And how long have you been part of the Orlando Gay Chorus?
Well, I joined probably about 6 years ago, looking for something to do that I've done before. When I was in Fort Lauderdale, I was also in a chorus there too, the Fort Lauderdale Gay Men's Chorus. And I enjoyed that a lot. It was something about, being a part of a group and singing, which, I think that, just that experience alone is an amazing, great experience for anybody. And so when I moved here, I eventually looked up doing the chorus here as well. The only difference is this is a mixed chorus, where the one in Fort Lauderdale that I had experience with was an all-male chorus. So, but it's been great, just getting to know all the people.
And can you tell us about one of your favorite, or some of your favorite productions or performances that you've done?
Well, they do 2 shows a year, and the chorus does like a spring show, and they also do a Christmas show, and it's hard to say, because usually just like it just because of the music that you're doing. You start to find, there's a lot of songs that you really enjoy doing. So when I first started doing it, I was, I got a lot more involved and was actually, in the front row of dancers too. I said, well, let me try that as well. And so it was sort of funny, because the person that was in charge of the dance troupe, the one that did most of the choreography, would tell me that basically, when you're not as knowledgeable of dancing, they usually just put something in your hand, and then so I found myself with something in my hand a lot. But otherwise, so I did that for a while, but then I realized that it was just taking up a lot of my time, so I went back to just singing and not, dancing or doing anything like that. But there's been a lot of good shows, actually. I can't particularly say one was better than the other, but it's really just the songs, that I like.
And have you participated in the GALA events?
Oh yeah, I've been in 3 of them, and if you've ever heard anybody talk about them, they'll tell you that they're really a life-changing experience, and when you go there, it's like a celebration. It's really a festival, and it's not a competition or anything like that. It's really just like coming together with like-minded people that really enjoy performing, and but one of the most amazing things that I found being in the GALA is just the accolades that you get. I mean, you know, here we perform maybe in front of like an audience of maybe 800 people, 500 to 100 people. There you have full house of 2,500 people, and they give you standing ovations every song, and it's just amazing. I mean, you come out of the theater after a performance, and you're met with, you know, people lining up along the, you know, the hallways and the passages out, just applauding you all the way out. It's quite unreal. it's our own little world of people that just really appreciate what they do, you know. So, and when you're really good, then you know, the accolades are amazing. I mean, but just full houses, you know, the whole time, and it's like thousands of people, more than I would ever see in any show here, you know. So I can't even describe it. It's just great, you know, just that whole experience. So yeah, so it was I've done 3, and over a period of time, and the last 2 have been in the same city, so that was fun because I got to go back and see people that, you know, that I knew from that city as well.
Mm-hmm. And are you comfortable sharing what city that was in?
Well, the last 2 galas have been in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, and so I just happened to have been dating somebody that long distance, that his hometown was in Denver, so I spent a lot of time in Denver seeing him. So like half and half doing the show and half, you know, seeing my friend. So that was kind of nice.
And where was the other?
The other one was it was when I was with the Fort Lauderdale chorus. That was in Tampa, and that was my first, and so that's when I first got the taste of like having you know, those accolades and the large crowds of people that, you know, that fill the theaters. So it's just, I mean, I think the most amazing thing is I mean, you know, you're with a group of talented people here in Orlando, but can you imagine being in a place where the talent just comes from all over the world? I mean, you see, I get, you know, the one thing I find that's so amazing is that, you know, it's a whole bunch of people from all walks of life. You have men, women, you have all you know, genders, and you have colors of, you know, all races and colors, and we all get along, and we all just, you know, just build on. I mean, the world could really learn from, you know, if everybody could just be a chorus, that would be amazing, you know. So when you see that, and you see that old, young, men, women, all, you know, all just come together, just without, it's like a peaceful time. I mean, that's, I think, why it's so amazing, you know. And that's why I even like the chorus here, and just doing the chorus here, you know, it's a group of people that comes with many different religions and all kinds of different backgrounds, but we really enjoy just doing this whole performance for the people that we like and love in our families. So that's the experience that you really get from it, I think.
And so I'd like to talk about Pulse, and
Okay.
I was wondering how you first heard about the Pulse shooting.
I was No, let me think about that one, because what was I doing? I think what it was is I woke up and, you know how people, you get on Facebook, that's kind of the first thing you do, or and that's where you start seeing what has happened in the last day or so. I think that, our social media is really like just, you could just find out things that are happening like, immediately. And so we live in a culture now where we have the technology to just hear about something that happened like the night before. And so I think that's what it was. I think I was just like looking through Facebook, and I saw that there had been something that had happened. And so I'm trying to remember, like, exactly what it was. I think it was pretty much Facebook, if I recall, or my one friend that usually calls me or something if I haven't gotten on Facebook and maybe told me or something. I don't exactly remember.
And do you remember what your reaction was or what your thoughts were when you first heard?
Well, I think that at that time when the news was coming out, we weren't quite sure, like, the extent of like what had happened. Everybody was kind of like, just how would you put it? Just in the dark about, like, how many people, what was involved, who was in there. All we knew there was a shooting. We didn't know like who it was. And I think at that point in time, I think I didn't stop looking at the news and just watched the whole time. I also have a roommate who's younger. He's about 20 some years old, and just to see him go through that, that, because he's he would be someone that would have gone to the Pulse. I stopped really going out to clubs a long time ago. So this was pretty much a young person club, and so he knew more people. He was more connected, and so I kind of lived like a little bit vicariously through his experience of what was going on, and really just like I said, I didn't know people in the club, but I knew people that knew people. In a small town like this, you kind of know everybody's kind of connected, so you kind of feel for even your friends. I mean, we all had a kind of a story to tell about, like, who we knew and what they were going through, pretty much.
And so you mentioned you watched the news. Was there anything else in particular you did on that Sunday? Do you remember what you did the rest of the day?
No, I don't even recall. I just know that we were just trying to find out, how many people were hurt, and how many survivors there were, and you really found yourself just getting totally involved in finding out. Like, I mean, I think I watched every news story that came out and saw the interviews of the people talking about what they were going through. So I think that we were all kind of like just doing that at that point in time. The chorus hadn't really gotten involved in anything yet, but so we, when we would go to rehearsals like the following Wednesday or something like that, then then things would people would tell their stories of like who and what they knew. But I don't actually recall anything more than just looking and getting so involved with like every detail of like what was happening. So.
So can you talk a little bit about the chorus's response to the shooting and what sort of happened with the Orlando Gay Chorus in the days and in the weeks following?
Well, I mean, for me, it seemed like the chorus was kind of taking a new direction. You know, I mean, it had always been a chorus that did outreaches, you know, to the community at large. I mean, we've always done that. We've always performed at certain places like, there's an elderly care facility that we've performed at, and we've done pride events and those kind of things, and we've kind of geared ourselves towards like just doing the national anthem, you know, when someone needed that in their group or something. The outreaches hadn't been, now that we have a new director, we're starting to, and we have some other people that really get totally involved in outreaches. So the outreaches before the Pulse were just, basically just, like, yeah, we'll do your wedding ceremony or something like that, or we'll do a song for for the like if you want the national anthem or something. But then after Pulse, we found that they started to do vigils, and I think that's what, and I hadn't gone to any of the first ones, mostly because they were kind of telling us, that the city was sort of waiting for a time when they could have an organized one where they could have like security there, and they were kind of concerned about the community in general, and putting doing something like this that wasn't like an official thing, that they could make sure that they had the manpower, because I think at this point they were sort of stressed out, the police department, trying to look into what was happening with the shooting, and if there was anything else, so they couldn't guarantee the safety of but what ended up happening was the first vigil that was announced ended up to become a huge one, and I kind of stayed away from it because we were all kind of concerned like that, that they wouldn't have the security in place. So I didn't really get involved with the first one, but then but when they did decide to have an official one, then I did that one. But the first one, I watched from the videos afterwards, and it became like the one that they did at Dr. Phillips became the sort of the one that was representing our city all around the world. After that, then they started doing the memorial services and stuff too. It wasn't that long after that, and then that's when we started to go and do these like small things that for some of the people that were in there. I was feeling kind of, that the whole thing about doing a memorial service is sort of, you feel almost displaced, like it's a surreal feeling, that and you're not quite sure. Because the chorus is really a group that's there to entertain. We were never, to take on the role of being somebody that is comforting the community was certainly something I wasn't really prepared for. So after a while, I found that it was kind of it started to weigh on me a little bit, I think, and the whole, and I don't know. I just think that I found myself And I couldn't find someone that I could communicate with on what was happening to me. It's sort of you start to feel kind of a guilt or something. And the reason I say that is because, before the Pulse, we were a small group that, struggled to be known in the community. And then a lot of organizations started asking us to come to do something for them, and not necessarily a vigil or memorial, but just something representing, the LGBT community. And that's when we got one of the most amazing events that I felt I ever really sang at was, there are two that you did mention. You did ask me what if there were a couple things that stand out. Being in the chorus, and the one, and it was before the Pulse, was that the Dr. Phillips Center had asked us to perform songs for them, and it was a concert called Salute to the American Flag. And to me that was just that's up there with the GALA choruses. To represent to be a part of the Dr. Phillips, the Orlando Philharmonic. Those are the ones that asked us to be part of this Salute to the American Flag. So we did this concert at the Bob Carr, and we had over 100 of our chorus members there, and what was really cool was after the reviews came out for this show, they actually said that we were just an amazing group. This was the reviews from the Sun Sentinel saying that we sounded amazing. And they even thought that the Orlando Philharmonic didn't have the quality that they could have had. I think they criticized the way the director did some of the songs, but our part was amazing. So that was the one that show that just really stood out for me. And the other performance was because of the Pulse and what had happened, and it was that we got to sing halftime for the soccer game. And so there's 36,000 people, at halftime listening to a couple songs we did. And we did this one beautiful rendition of Cyndi Lauper's Color, True Colors song. So I have to say, I'm 60 years old, and that alone stands out as one of the most amazing things that anybody that's gay could ever imagine, is to be out and open on a national level, and just being able to be who you are, and have just all these people just accepting you. And so after that, after I had done that, right after we did that halftime show, and then even just staying there and having some beers and watching the game, it was just totally the most fun. But I gotta tell you, I felt so guilty. Yeah, I couldn't explain why. It's just, here's something that happened that where some people lost their lives, and it took that much to, I shouldn't, can you imagine just the guilt you feel to have something so amazing, but at the price of losing all these people. And so when that happened, there wasn't anybody I could reach out to. I had a friend that really, one of my best friends, I couldn't get him to understand, why, I was feeling this way. And like when you have something like that happen and you can't really have, and you don't have anybody to talk to. So I called my friend. I have a good friend, Mary, and I said, and I told her what happened, that all this, there's amazing things that happen, but, because, if you grow up 60 years, you never would experience, you're always like in the shadows. You never tell people like what your life is like. This is what it's been for, all my life. And so when you're in groups like this, like the chorus or anything, and you're like at festivals, you kind of have these great experiences. But I never would have thought that, they've been able to sing at like the soccer games or stuff like that, and that was, so I asked my friend Mary, and so Mary and Joe came over, and that's when we went over to one of the candlelight vigils that they were holding downtown at the Pulse, and so it was nice to have my friends with me to just kind of get me through that part of the guilt, I think. I mean, that's kind of what it's been like. But that's a long time ago, so I've kind of recovered. So, kind of like that. Anyway.
And what have your thoughts been about, these are here if you want them. What have your thoughts been about the reactions of the community to what's happened?
Oh, I think that the community in general has been incredible. Not only the community, but the whole world. I mean, when we were at the last gala, it was really one of those galas that was after the Pulse. So they were kind of telling us at the rehearsals that don't be prepared, because you're going to get a lot of the response you're going to get at gala is going to be different than what you're used to being. And so when you come from a community that where something like this has happened, like say for example what happened in Paris, that sort of thing, the world seems to really have come together. I mean, what happened in Paris seems to be what was happening to us now, the shooting at the nightclub, and then now, and then what we had to experience, so like the chorus, they're kind of saying, like, when you go to the gala, just be prepared that the people, the community around you, and not only Orlando, but just every community is going to respond in some manner. I mean, we, on Facebook alone, there were so many positive responses from all over the world, that, and we're still getting them even now. I mean, there are choruses that are sending us, they're having fundraisers and sending us, funds to help our chorus here, through the next show and all that. And it's all really as a result of the Pulse. I mean, it's just, everything. The mayor's been great. It's just been a real unity that has happened for us, and so I think the chorus is a little part of that too. I think that we're just kind of like a group that that everybody's kind of how would I put it, sharing their experiences with, or something. It's kind of an outlet for them, I suppose. I don't know, but yeah.
Was there anything else specific you noticed in the reaction of other people, other courses at the GALA event?
Oh yeah, I mean when we did go to the GALA, it was like when you go and see like a show, we'd be part of a show. We were part of the opening ceremony show, where we kind of just came up on stage and sang like maybe the last song of a song that we were doing with the other groups. We ended up getting these amazing standing ovation, that just lasted for the longest of times. I mean, it was, and when the director started talking about, the events that had occurred up until the time, all the vigils that we were doing in the memorial services, it was, everybody just kind of stood up, and then as even if we would walk through like I don't know if you've ever been to Colorado, there's a pedestrian mall where all the theaters are on one side, and there's like there's a couple theaters on the other side, and then there's like kind of a parking garage has some floors on it. Well, the Colorado courses all got together, and they just they sang a song, and I'm trying to remember. I think it was "America the Beautiful" actually, and then they draped banners over the railings that showed that they were in support of what had happened in Orlando. So they had their Orlando Strong banners hanging as they sang this "America the Beautiful" song. I mean, there's one thing about songs, it just brings everybody like together. It's just a moving experience. So that was just one of the many things. And then everywhere you went, there was always, because we wore like little banners that said we were from Orlando. So everywhere you went, like throughout the event, you'd get just hugs, and that they were thinking of you, and just well wishes, it was quite an experience, I have to say. But, it's hard to kind of go on with it, when everything like that happens. You're like, you want your life to go on, you wanted things to be settled and to go, but we still, I think we've changed as a group now, and we're kind of a group that's out there for people if they need something. We're not just like, we've become like sort of a support group for other groups in town or something. It's hard to explain. So, and I don't want to bring up politics, but they did ask a lot of us to, if this is not an official outreach for the course, but they did ask a lot of us if we wanted to sing for the president and when he comes to town on Sunday. So there's going to be a bunch of us over there singing the national anthem. Not me, I didn't get that email all the time, but I'm kind of so happy for my friends that have an opportunity to be part of the election thing that's happening. So if you get a chance, go over to Kissimmee. I think the president's going to be there, and we're going to be singing the national anthem. I mean, some singers that I know, not official. OGC, it's just a volunteer thing. So that's kind of exciting for them.
Do you have any thoughts about what Pulse as a place means to you? I don't know if it had any significance for you before, or does it now?
That's a good question. What Pulse meant to me, I mean, I have been there before. I mean, probably like 10 years ago, I probably went there a few times, and it was really just a place to, socialize. The night of the tragedy, though, I had heard that it was like Hispanic night, which meant that they would have been doing some like cool dancing. Because I don't know if you've ever been to like a place where they it's kind of Spanish Hispanic music. They dance a lot differently than regular disco clubs or whatever. Because I used to go to the places in Miami, and they do salsas and I don't know all the types of dances that they do, but it's quite fun, because it's like couple dancing in a way that that's more where you touch each other as opposed to just disco music where you don't. So I could imagine it would have been fun. And if I had, actually, to tell you the truth, if I had known that it was like Hispanic night, I probably would have gone just for the dancing if I could find someone to go with, at the time. But no, for a long time it hadn't been any place I would have gone because it's just it was just like a younger crowd, So, though I'm sure there were people my age there. I'm just not much of a club person these days. So, but yeah.
So do you have any thoughts about what you might see as the long-term consequences of the Pulse shooting for this community or maybe even broader to the country?
Well, like always, I always hope that, these kind of things can make differences when it comes to gun control, that sort of thing. That's really where I hope it goes more than anything. I mean, we just, as a country, there's a lot of, being in an election year too, which makes a big difference, but there's so much argument about how we use guns and why they go into the wrong hands and what can we do about it, and I know that there's a lot of disagreement on how guns should be handled, and especially assault rifles. If anybody's that's read what happened at the Pulse with these people that use these assault rifles, these are very destructive. The early responders didn't even know if they could even get into the building. They didn't even know how many people were actually in the building. The amount of gunfire that goes off during that time is incredible, and not only that, but those guns are very destructive, and so when you're shot with an assault rifle, you have damage to your body more so than just a gun that just shoots like a little handgun. And it just doesn't make any sense why our country, what this love affair is with these assault rifles. And I know for a fact that there was a law not long ago that kind of kept these kind of guns out of people's hands. But then I guess some laws they just have a certain period of time and then they become null and void or something. So I'm just hoping that we can, as a society here, can just find ways. You can get guns on the internet. You can get guns at gun shows, and you don't even need to have a background search. That's what I'm kind of hoping. It's really about that. If you've read anything about the guy that that was in the shooting, you know that he was somebody that just had like really issues, you know, like more mental issues. So, I don't know. I mean, that's what I would like to see, really.
So do you have any other reflections about the Paul shooting or your experience as a member of the gay chorus that we haven't talked about or haven't covered?
Gosh, we've covered quite a lot, haven't we? Well, like I said, you know, the Pulse was really a tragedy, and though I didn't really know anybody like personally, I didn't know people who did know people, and I just feel sorry for any community that ever have to go through something like this, you know. And the reality is that, you know, until the world changes, you know, we're going to have this sort of thing. It's going to come, and it's going to happen occasionally, you know, like different places around the world. I mean, this is nothing compared to what's happening overseas. So, but so that's why it's kind of nice to have like the chorus, to have, you know, to put some positive part into your life. And so that's kind of, you know, I'm looking forward to the show. It's on December 10th. And a little you know, a little sales pitch there. So yeah, so we're really just, you know, I think what it is I think we're all just getting back to our lives now, you know, and so that's, you know, it's been quite a few months since it's happened, and so it's nice to just kind of get back and, you know, look forward to being a part of that group again and doing something that's more entertaining and fun and positive. So I think that's really a part of it, is that you know, you have the tragedies, but you also have a lot of things to look forward to. So I'm really looking forward to it, that sort of thing. So.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I think that's pretty much it. You know, it's quite an ordeal. No, it's just I think, you know, like yeah, I guess the one thing I would like to say about the course is that it does benefit people that, like, you know, that we come together, that I'm certainly, you know, happy that I have something that, you know, that is very community oriented. I think that's really one of the things that I really enjoy about it is it puts me back into the community. Something that, you know, that when you're working every day and all your life is pretty much just work, and it's nice to have that outlet. Yeah. So, and I've had a lot of nice experiences. So, right.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for talking with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.